A very warm welcome to all our viewers. Welcome, all of you, to the first show of the Failure Show. I'm very happy to have a very special guest with us here. She is an alumni of the Karnataka State Law University's Law Degree, and the success which she has achieved is cracking JAG. So I won't take much time in introducing her. I will just start with the questions which I have for her. Firstly, welcome, officer. The first question to you, which all of us would like to know, is about your upbringing, your early life, and why you chose to study law, and how the journey started for you.
Hi, Pranusha. Hello, everyone who is watching this show. And I'm really glad to be part of this show and this initiative that we have taken. I'm really hopeful that this will help a lot of students, to broaden their horizon about all the options, all the other options that are available to them, and so that they can see some different perspectives as well. So this show, I'm sure it is going to help everyone. I just hope this, somebody should, if this was there during our time, it would have helped us as well.
Yeah.
So all the very best. And so let's get started. So my upbringing, so there's nothing out of the ordinary or something, completely different or special. We are a family of four. I was born in a small town, and we moved to this beautiful city of ours. And I did my schooling and my education, everything, 12 pre-university, graduation, everything. Completed my studies here, and later on I applied for JAG, and then fortunately, with God's grace, I got through in my third attempt. So that's it. So if there's anything else, any specifics that you want to know, please.
That's great to know. So you said that you got through in your third attempt. So
Yes.
we would like to know, when exactly did you decide that you want to pursue JAG as your career? Was it during your law school or after you graduated?
Okay, so there are two things. JAG is, like, a Judge Advocate General, the legal entry in the armed forces, and an entry in the army as such, that is a general entry. So from a very small age, when I was a kid, I wanted to join the army back then itself, because my father and my brother both are passed out from Sainik school. So I have seen my brother, living that life since I was a kid. So we used to go and meet him every Sunday. So every time we used to visit him, I used to see the stark difference between me and him. The kind of discipline, the how different this life is, the way army shapes you as a person. So I was very keen and very attracted from the very small age, from my small age itself. But then, yes, this was always there, that I wanted to join the army. But JAG came very late, because I was not aware of this back then, because I became aware of JAG in my fourth year of law. That is, when you come towards your graduation, and then you have to start thinking, okay, there is something that I need to do with my life now. And then this was in the back of my mind, army was always there. And so I started researching. So what options as a law graduate would be open to me? That is when I found out there is something called as Judge Advocate General's entry, a specific entry only to law graduates. And yes, to be honest, that always took a back seat. My primary aim was to get into the army. So as any graduate, there is an entry open, that is the general entry. It is always there. So that is called as CDS, Combined Defense Services. So it's a written test. Once you pass the written test, then you go through the service selection board, the interview procedure. The only difference between this and JAG is, we apply for JAG, we apply specifically for the JAG entry. Here, right now, there is no written test. I've heard that in future they are thinking of formulating the written test as well for this. For now, there is no written test. Directly, you go, if you make the cutoff. Once you apply, the only cutoff is that you require 55% in your graduation. So once that is through, then you will be called for the interview, and based on your performance in the service selection board, then you get into JAG.
Okay. So it's are there, how many steps are there in the selection? Can you explain?
Sure. For JAG entry, the first step is applying. You directly go to joinindianarmy.com. This official website, be it Army, Navy, Air Force. For all the three, this is www.joinindianarmy.com, joinindiannavy.com, joinindianairforce.com. So these are the official websites wherein you have to. There's also a good website wherein you can understand what all options are available to you. You get those columns in on that page. There you just have to fill in your details. That is your age and your qualification. Then they themselves show you a list of all the entries that you are eligible for. And there, once you click on that, then they take you to the notification, the latest notification, which is released by the Ministry of Defense. And during that period, when the applications, they are open for applications, you get the application form on that website itself. You just have to download the application, fill in the application and submit it. And once the application dates are closed, then they announce the cutoff, and then they themselves will assign you a center wherein you will be undergoing the service selection board. As far as I am aware, there are 3 boards for the JAG entry. One is SSB Allahabad, SSB Bhopal, and SSB Bangalore. And in my 3 attempts, I've been to all the 3 boards.
Okay.
So going through the SSB procedure, once you're called for the interview, there are main 3 steps. First step is the screening. It is a one-day affair. That is the first day. There, first you give a written exam. It's more like an aptitude test. So after the written exam, there is something called as picture perception description test. It's just they'll show you a picture. You have to write a story on that picture, and then there is a group discussion on that story that you have written. And this procedure is the screening procedure. This happens on day 1. And in this, they weed out, for example, if there are say 100 or 200 applicants. So we were around 30 to 40 people who got screened in on the first day. They do not take generally say 30 to 40 is the max that they would screen in. After that, then there is a tedious 3 to 4 day long procedure. Here, this is a lengthy procedure. Again, you'll be starting from the scratch. On the first day, you might have your GD, that is ground. You have a GT test. There is ground training. Then there's 2 days of ground training. Then there is 1 day of interview. You have a personal interview, and then there are multiple tasks that you'll be undergoing during these 3 days of selection procedure. On the last day, there is something called as conference, and after the conference, then they announce whether they have selected any candidates or not. Once it's very easy. We start explaining like this, you might not understand what those procedures are, or it might feel it is complicated. It's just a very step-by-step procedure. You can just anybody who wants to know about this, you just have to type SSB on Google. They will give you the whole 4-day procedure.
Wow, it sounds like a very tedious procedure, where you should not just be physically strong, but also you need to be mentally also very strong to go through this. We would like to know, how did you train for this procedure? Not just physical training, but also I felt after listening to you that it requires a lot of endurance. To go through, like for 3 attempts, you kept the hope that you will one day get selected. You kept up your training and the equal amount of hard work, if not more. So we would like to know, what were the mistakes you did in the first 2 attempts, which you think, why you didn't get selected, and how did you modify your strategy that made you successful in your 3rd attempt?
So basically, like you said, there's a lot of endurance that is required, but it is 90% is mental endurance. It is just 10% of physical endurance, because you have the main thing here that they check is your psychology. The people there, the assessors, they are all psychologists. You have a psychology test. This is the main chunk of the 3-day test. They give you a lot of if I have to go a little into the details of it, there is something called as TAT, VAT, that is word association test. And then there's picture perception test, the one that I told you on the first day itself. That is again there. But then this is a long procedure. They give you like 60 words, and they'll flash you one word. Then you have like 10 seconds. You have to form a sentence on that word. This is a word association test, and with the picture, they'll show you a picture, and then you have like a minute or two in which you have to write a story on that picture. So basically, this psychological test, this is the main test amongst all of these, because what they believe is they need a person who is psychologically ready to be physically trained, because the physical training we anyways undergo at the military training, that once we are selected we are sent to the training center, and there we are anyways undergoing the physical training. But they cannot take a person who is not mentally prepared to undergo that physical training, and hence psychological evaluation is the backbone of the selection board. Now, going into my attempts, my first attempt was a very novice attempt, since it was my first thing. I was very new to all this. I was just learning from people, looking at people. It was actually my first time, my exposure to people from such various backgrounds. There were people from army law institutes or national law schools or other law schools. So this was one place where I seen a gathering of so many law students. I could interact with them, understand what their perspectives have been, like how their law colleges are, how they are trained. So it was a mind-opening experience to me. So yeah, there a lot of things that I did. First attempt, a lot of mistakes. So be it my with respect to this physical endurance that we were talking about, going into my first attempt, I was not that good when it came to the physical aspect. I think I did well in the psychological part, but in the physical part, I thought I was lacking a bit, because there are just, it's not like you have to run marathons, or you don't need that kind of endurance. You just need this basic endurance that you would need for any, say, teenager or in 20s. Say you should be able to run, if you're able to run a mile, or if you're able to do say 10 push-ups, or if you're able to do say 15-20 sit-ups, just that kind of physical endurance is more than enough for you to clear the SSB. Here they have, yes, certain physical tests. There are certain physical tests. You can get these on the YouTube as well. There are a lot of videos wherein they are going to show you all these obstacles. So how these obstacles are cleared, or what kind of obstacles are there in the selection procedure. They are very basic. So the main point of having these is not to see if you are able to do that. It is about how you are going to approach these obstacles. Because there again, in the obstacles, they are rated from 1 to 10, 1 being the easiest and 10 points to the one that is the most difficult obstacle amongst them.
Okay.
So they're going to see how have you approached the one with 1 point, or how are you approaching the one with 10 points. Are you getting scared, or are you doubting yourself, or are you hesitating, or how much more time are you taking just to make up your mind that yes, I'm going to do it or not. For example, there is something called as Tarzan jump. So when you the first time I did it, when you are seeing it from ground, you feel like, okay, I'll be able to do it. It's just a jump. The thing that we know, the thing that we think of Tarzan jump, that is the swing thing. So it's nothing much different. It's similar. But then when you go on that podium, you're holding that rope. Then for one moment you hesitate that, oh, I might fall. So this is something that they don't want. Once you make up your mind, you have to be through with it. Because even if you fall, you're not going to die. That's there.
Yeah.
So it's again, even though these were physical tests, what they are testing basically is just psychology about how you are approaching them. So this will give them an idea whether you are fit to be trained or not. So yes, in my first attempt, I did make these small mistakes. So there was this something called as double jump. So there are 2 platforms. You take there's a staircase to the highest platform. So from that highest platform, you jump on the lowest platform. From there, you jump on the ground. So it was pretty simple. And when I looked at it from below, I thought, okay, it's pretty simple. I can do it. But when I went up the podium, I got scared. I stood there for 2 seconds, and the more I'm waiting there, I knew that this is getting counted against me. So I was becoming more conscious, and I was in a loop. I'm getting conscious, and that is making me more scared, and that is again making me conscious. So I lost a lot of time there. So it came to a point where, the assessor, he said, it's okay, you can just sit and come down. Then I said that no, I don't want to do that. I've come here to jump. I will jump. I may take more time. I might fail today, but I don't want to take this shortcut. So I stood there for another second or two, made up my mind, and I jumped through it. So after I jumped, I realized it was nothing. It was not at all scary. So I thought that made me nervous for my other test, because I had my personal interview after this. So I was getting scared that maybe this might come up in the personal interview. How am I going to tackle that? So yes, then I think that was there, and also I could see a lot of other applicants who were there with me, other candidates. Most of them were very experienced. You're not going to believe, I've seen till my last attempt, I've seen people who have given 9 to 12 attempts of SSB.
Okay.
Yeah, and one of my friend who made it in, one of my postmate, she got in her 9th attempt. So
oh God, okay.
Yeah, so it's just humbling when I got to see these people. So I had the same questions, like how could you keep up your morale? How could you keep pushing for so many times? Being rejected for 8 times, that does something to you psychologically, but still, how could you come back? But then this is the strong resolve that they need. This is the strong resolve that you need to have to do something like this. So yes, in my first attempt, I think also I messed up my personal interview. Personal interview is normally generic. There is no set format as to what they'll ask you. They can ask you anything. It can be general current affairs. It can be something related to law. It's not necessary that they are going to ask you from law. It's not like the entrance exams we give. It is nothing like that. So they might just ask you some things from law, some things in general, maybe something regarding politics, or completely out of the blue, maybe sports, maybe entertainment. On the first day when you go, you fill in a questionnaire where you're giving out all your details about yourself, your hobbies, your education qualifications, etc., etc. They might discuss about your hobbies, or they might discuss about what sports you have written that you are interested in. So since I had played throw ball in college, so I had written throw ball as one of the sports that I had played. So I specifically remember my personal interviewer, he just wanted to make me nervous. Their intention is to make you nervous, to see how hard you can take it, for how long you can take it. So he started asking me the circumference. Okay, so you've played throw ball. So what is the circumference of the ball? What are the dimensions of the ground? What is the height of the net? What is the width of the net? So yes, I got nervous because I've only played throw ball. I've never measured the ground or the net. So whatever, however much I do, I did tell that. But then, I know I got a little nervous, and then of course the personal interview didn't go that well. I mean, according to me, it didn't go that well. But then I was, lucky enough that I got selected. We were 6 people from Bhopal board that were selected. So this is another part of the procedure. It is something called as recommended. So once you clear the service selection board, that 6 days of interview, you are called as you are recommended. You are either recommended or not recommended. On the first day, if you clear the test, it is called screened in, or if you fail, you are called screened out. And once you finish this, it is recommended. So I got recommended, and there were only 3 vacancies during that time in my first attempt. And in the merit list, we were around 25 people who were the total number of candidates that were recommended from all the 3 boards. So yeah, I did not make it to the top 3, and hence I was merit out. So after this, there's also something called as medicals. That is also a very important part of the interview procedure. It's like if you have cleared, say, your written, then you have cleared your SSB, but you do not clear your medicals. Even if you are all India merit 1, you will not be accepted, because you need to be cleared medically as well. And medical test is just that it's not just your weight, height, everything. It's your weight, height, and you have to undergo sonography. They check X-ray. Everything is done to make sure that each and every body part of yours is normal. They just need an average human being, somebody not with say for example somebody has a heart element or asthma. They cannot recommend these people. Or there's even this dental test that they check for the number of points, the teeth number of points that you have. So if it is more or less than the number that is prescribed, then again you're medically rejected. So again, for medical there are two boards. If you are rejected, there are two kinds of rejection, medical rejection. One is temporary rejection, one is permanent rejection. Temporary rejection is something you can appeal. For example, for a person of my height, the ideal body weight that was required was between 47 to 52 kgs. And at that time, my weight was 55 kgs. So I was temporarily rejected on medical grounds. But since it is temporary, I appealed for it. I had 1 month to lose 3 kgs. It's not that difficult, it was just 3 kgs. So I made some modifications in my diet, did more exercise. I lost my 3 kgs. Then I went to the board, the medical board, and then I was selected. So this is a temporary rejection which can be changed. But if there is something called as permanent rejection, for example, eyesight. So myopia is something that I have too, but then there is something prescribed range until -5. Until -5 is permissible degree. Anything more than -5 is permanent rejection. So since mine was under between that range, so I was not rejected for that. So the things that you cannot change. For example, if you have asthma, that is something that you'll have for a long time. You have thyroid. So these things come under permanent rejection. So these cannot be appealed, and you will not be able to apply the next time as well. That is, even if you do, you will again be rejected. So you will again fall in that cycle. So yeah, this was my first attempt. After that, I had my SSB Allahabad. That was my second attempt. There again, I met a lot of people. This was more of a merit out board, because the number of people there who are merit out, I actually got scared looking at them. Number of times that these people have been merit out. I was merit out only once. These people have been merit out so many times, and going around the way they are talking, it's like they know everything. Then it just occurred to me that it's not necessary that a person who is merit out multiple times has to get in, because even a fresher in my previous attempt, there were in those 3 people who got merit in, there was one girl who was a fresher who had given her SSB for the very first time. So if a fresher can get selected, so there's no reason why I cannot get selected. So I just made up my mind that way. And then again, going into Allahabad, I felt that I did my psychology well. And coming to ground, since I had prepared myself this time better than my previous attempt, those tests were also better. Again, I felt that I could do better in my personal interview. This time, I think my interviewer was more interested in law. So I don't know whether he was an officer from the JAG department or what, or probably he was just curious to know about law. He focused more about law. He focused on, say, constitution, then IPC. So he asked me, but not too depth, but all generic questions. But he did not ask me much about current affairs or these things that we normally prepare for the interview. But then I don't know what I did wrong this time. But then again, I got recommended again. But then again, the vacancies were only 3. I did not make it to the merit this time as well. But my ranking in the merit out list had improved from the last time. So then my last and final attempt. This time, I think I made a lot of changes to myself about the going into it, because I had interacted with so many people. So I used to tell them like what things I have done, and I used to ask them like these are the people who were selected, who were officers. So I used to ask them what they would suggest, that like what changes should I be making. So basically what I learned was, it was not what I'm telling, it is about the way I'm telling it, the way I'm putting it forth. That matters a lot. So I made certain changes to that. And in my third attempt, I think with my personal interview, we were majoritarily focusing on my plan B. So my interview was more interested in if I won't be able to make it to JAG, then what is it that I'm going to do with my life? So and we had a pretty lengthy discussion on that. And since I always had a plan B in my mind, because I knew JAG is not something that everybody or anybody can do. It's not just about whether you're capable or not. I just thought that you have to be lucky to get selected, and that might not happen with everyone. So if that does not happen, I need to do something with my life. So there were a lot of things that I was doing at that time. In my final year itself, thanks to a few of my friends who had referred me to few firms, I had given my interview at one of the firm in Bangalore and one in Mumbai, and I was pretty positive with the outcome of the interview. But then I was quite honest with them. I told them that JAG is my first priority, and it is only when I won't be able to get through, that is until my last attempt. There is something, there's age restriction for JAG. You can keep trying until you are 27. Once you cross 27 years, then you are not eligible for JAG anymore. So that is what I told them, that as long as I'm eligible for JAG, this is what I'll be doing. And if I am not able to make it, then definitely I'd love to come and work for you. And I think after I was honest with them, I think there was only I received reply, like a positive reply from only one, and that was enough for me because I had a plan B. So we discussed quite at length about this. So he wanted to know what that firm was about and what my interests were and what apart from law was I doing. So there are certain certificate courses that I had done during the breaks that we used to get after every semester. Apart from doing the internships, I was quite interested in doing some of these certificate courses. I have also done one of the certificate course in this climate change and negotiation, because it was pretty interesting. I felt that as citizens we have certain responsibility towards preserving our nature, and if ever I get a chance to do anything in this regard, so I wanted to know how one can do it, or what is the scope for one to do it. So this course was quite interesting. So apart from that, I had a diploma from GNLU as well in commercial laws, and there were certain things that I was doing during our college, because 5 years is pretty long time, just to be in one place and do one thing, it'll bore you out. So we were discussing about all these things. So I think he was pretty impressed with the fact that I'm not going ahead in life with just this one thing, and that I'm not sticking all my hopes to just this, and that even if this does not happen, there is something worthwhile that I'll do with in my life. So I think it was quite, and because I remember in my conference, that is on my last day, he was again pressing on the same issue. I don't know why he was so stuck with that, but then he seemed pretty impressed with it to bring it up again in the conference. In the conference, it is not just the interviewer who is sitting. It is all the assessors from day one till this day who have interviewed or who have seen or who have tested you. There are around could be 9 to 10 people. They are sitting in this big U-shaped table, and you are the only one sitting at the bottom of it.
Okay.
And all of them are fully dressed, in their military uniform. Until this day.
Oh my God. Okay.
Yeah. So you can understand like how small you feel of yourself.
Yeah.
All these days you have seen them in their PT rigs. They were not in the uniform. Okay. We have only seen the personal interviewer in his uniform, because the interview is in his office. And in this last day, that is on the day of conference, everybody, is sitting in that U-shaped table, and everybody is looking at you, and you have to make eye contact with everybody while you're talking.
Okay.
Oh, man, I can't forget that.
So how did you handle that?
Again, my past experiences helped me. In Bhopal, I was shocked.
Okay.
I was stammering a lot, but then coming into my third interview, I had, rehearsed that in my mind, because when I was preparing, I was rehearsing these things in my mind. So I had rehearsed for my conference as well. And there's another thing that they always do. This is the trick that they do. In your personal interview, there are, nobody can answer everything. They are going to keep asking you until there are some things that you won't be able to reply. You don't have answers to. So rather than saying that, no, I don't know, or I'm not aware of this, what we say is that, sir, I'll get back to you on this. And on the day of conference, they will ask you that question to make sure that you said that you will get back to him. Have you made an effort to know what it is? Have you made an effort to find out what that is? So then again, if you're still blank, then that will give them an idea that you lied. If you said you'll get back to him and you have not worked on it, that only shows that maybe you're all this while in your personal interview or all these tests, whatever you have said, maybe everything is a false promise. Maybe that is how you approach your life, or just that is how much effort you want to put into this. So again, one or two things which I was not able to answer in my personal interview, he asked me in the conference, and fortunately I had done my homework. So I did give answers to that, and he came up with one or two other things as well. So yeah, I think they were pretty impressed. So that is why in this attempt I made it to All India ranking.
Wow, it's amazing. So what I can gather from this very long and also, it's not an easy journey. It requires a lot of patience along with endurance. So what I could understand for the benefit of our viewers is it's okay if you fail, or it's okay if you don't know an answer in the interview. But then what will give you that success is what you will do with this so-called failure. Right?
Yes.
So it's okay. In the first attempt, you said you got scared when you were supposed to jump. But what made you successful in the third attempt is you changed your attitude, right? Your strategy.
Yes.
You told yourself that you won't die if you fall down. You at the most you'll just get hurt. So I think it's important for our viewers to understand that officers like her, they are where they are because of their attitude towards their failures and the shortcomings. I think they understood at the right moment that their failures are not forever. It's in their hands as to what they will do with the so-called failures, and that's what makes them the success that they are. So we would like to know, you are from KSLU, Karnataka State Law University, which is not a national law school. So during this entire journey of yours, did you face any specific hurdles that you felt that an NLU grad wouldn't have faced? And how did you deal with that?
Yes, there were actually a lot of things, especially when you're going into group discussions. The kind of confidence that they have, I could see it. There were certain students from NLUs, and there were certain student candidates from the Army Law Institute. They are more aware of this than us or the NLU people, because that is what they've been doing. In their graduation, they learn about Army Law there as well. I think probably they have a subject in their graduation too regarding the Army Act. So coming to it, yes, the main thing that I could see upfront was the confidence. The confidence about how they are putting forth their opinion. It is not about the opinions that they are having. Maybe I felt sometimes that I did have better opinions, but then I could see the difference in how they are able to put it forth. I think that is because of the exposure that they get at that level, which probably I'm not going to go into blame game, because again, it is all on us. What we do for ourselves is our own effort. So nobody has ever stopped us from getting any kind of exposure. But then again, there has maybe we lacked a conducive environment for it. That again, because we are not from a metro city, or the number of colleges or the kind of competition that you have in metro cities in these colleges, that is lacking. So I guess it all is part of that atmosphere. So yes, confidence building took me some time, but then looking at these people, I felt that it is more important about how you polish yourself. They were very well polished. But then I went into, since I took this to recognize, to introspect that okay, these were my shortcomings. So this is something that I need to work upon if I have to be on an equal competing level. So I did some kind of, I went through a lot of articles. I did a lot of online search on this. Then I met a lot of people who could help me develop my personality. And then majoritarily I've met people who are serving in the army, because since my father is from Sainik school, a lot of his friends were there. I had met a lot of them during, before and during my SSB attempts, because my interactions with them, I'll say, helped me more in polishing my personality. So, I kept this routine going on. It's not a one day thing. You cannot build a personality or polish a personality just in one day. It takes time. You start small. You start with identifying on what needs to be changed, and you start working, one day at a time. And at the end of the day, you will be surprised on what you can do with yourself. Because I still remember for going in first interview, because maybe I was not able to see these changes in me, my father and my brother, the kind of opinions that I got from them from my first day into SSB attempt to my last day. So they themselves told me the amount of change that we have seen in you, the development that we have seen in you in just this span of a year and a half. We have not seen this in maybe 5 years of your law school or even before that. What you did in this 1.5 year was much more than what you've done before on yourself. That is because I started with introspecting. Okay, what needs to be changed? Make it a point, write it down, and then write it down on how you're going to work on it. What change you want in yourself? How do you see yourself? Are you okay with the person that you are right now? If you're not, then you have to work on it. Then how are you going to work on it? And you don't have to do this alone. Depending on what you need to be changed, what needs to be changed in you, there are a lot of things that you can do. You can speak with, there are a lot of institutes also. There are a lot of, these career academies as well who help people train just for the SSB. There are that, and there are, or you can meet a psychologist. It's not necessary that you need to have a mental illness, to speak to a psychologist, to open up to a psychologist. And then, yes, these things one day at a time, and then you keep practicing whatever needs to be done. Like we needed this logical reasoning, and everything was part of the test. So I downloaded a lot of sample question papers from the internet. I bought a few SSB interview related books in which there were a lot of sample question papers. There were a lot of sample TAT and pictures, and there were also some where these things were solved. How they are expressing their opinion, how this can be. And then rather than just copy pasting, because that is that person's personality who has written it, it is his opinion. You are putting forth your opinion, so you modify it to suit your personality. So that is how, one day at a time, but then we can bring changes in ourselves. So that is what I try to do.
Okay, so this journey, as I understand, includes also a lot of self-introspection. Yeah. And again, the same thing, that you should be willing to change yourself and not be status quoist, not be complacent with what you are and where you are. Officer, we would like to know, this has been a very inspiring and impressive journey. Not just the position where you are, but also the amount of hard work which you've put in during the course of preparation for it. We would like to know what gave you that motivation or confidence to go on self-analyzing and correcting yourself like this, because this is an attitudinal thing, right? We would like to know, can everyone, how should someone develop this kind of problem solving attitude?
So it all comes down to how badly you want it.
Okay.
I had dreamt of wearing the uniform one day, and I was willing to do anything and everything that is required to live that dream. Come what may. I just couldn't give up, because that is something that I dreamt of, and that is what I wanted badly. And and there was no barriers to me, because my parents, my brother, everybody was quite supportive. Whatever I wanted, in whatever way they could support me. When I told my father that I need to speak with people who have undergone this, he made every attempt from his side to get in touch with some of his friends, to make sure that they find a time available. He made sure that I could go and meet them in person. He arranged for me to meet them in person and have a one-on-one discussion. So I saw that there was a lot of support that I had from my parents. And then it was more like it was not just my dream anymore, it was their dream too. And it was something that my father and my brother also wanted for themselves. And then that was something that fueled me more. I wanted to live it not just for myself but for them too. And it was, I could stay awake the whole night and just dream about it. It is that badly that I wanted it. So it all boils down to how badly you want it.
Okay, it's great to know that if you will get this strength only if you're very clear as to what you are and what you want in your life. That's an amazing insight for us. And do you have any lasting tips or anything which you would like to share with the aspirants, JAG aspirants? Not just them, there might be people from other fields as well who might be struggling to achieve their goals and who might be failing. And what do you think they should do to keep moving ahead?
Okay. The first thing is, it's just that you have to realize that if you're falling now, if you sit there, life is not going to change, because you're not going to lose anything if you're going to try once again. You might just fail again. You have seen the failure. There's no harm in seeing success. So why not keep trying until you see success? So why not keep trying to build on yourself? Maybe you're not able to get this dream. Maybe you find something else to do with yourself. Maybe you become a person that you yourself open many other opportunities to yourself. So, it's just that you fall one day and then you just have to, dust it down, pick yourself up and be ready for the marathon next day. Because in life, there's nothing that will come easy. So it's just that everybody have their own journey, everybody have their own fight. Maybe when you look at somebody, you might feel that, everything has come very easy to him. Why is my life not like that? Why do I have to struggle so much? Why do I have to just, keep failing and every time that person got in the very first attempt? You don't know what journey they have been through. Maybe, not everybody shows the failures or the failed attempts. Not everybody talks about it because nobody wants to show the bad part of them. They only want people to recognize them with success. So first thing is, don't ever compare yourself with anyone else. Everybody have their own fight. You are in your own fight, and there is no other competition to yourself apart from you yourself. What boundaries you set for yourself, what goals you set for yourself, what barriers you're putting for your own self. So just don't give up. Just keep trying. You will reach there, and have some faith in God. So He always has a plan for you.
That's amazing to hear. I hope all our viewers get something out of this, that there's no harm in failing, but the harm is if you just, as she mentioned, if you just sit there and crib that you fail, you will find your success, if not in the journey where you currently are, in some other journey which you will eventually carve out for yourself. Thank you so much, Officer, for having agreed to be featured on this show. We are very happy that we got to hear from you. I hope many people. Thank you. I hope many viewers, if any viewers have some questions, they can drop in a message on the Failure Show, and I'll make sure that it will be answered by her.
Thank you so much, Pranusha. I hope this initiative brings hope and helps a lot of people. I'm looking forward to it.
Thank you so much.